question at the outset of this devotion, and that is, have you ever been wrong about someone? I mean, you took their shyness and their reserved attitude as being stuck up, as being unfriendly. And as you got to know them, you realized that that was just a first impression, and that first impression was misleading. I know I have through the years, and truth be told, all of us have probably judged based on first impressions, and those things tend to stick with us, don't they? But sometimes we just flat miss it. It's easy to make an assumption based upon a body of evidence that's not complete. And that's always dangerous, to make an assumption when we don't have all the information. And we certainly don't have all the information on people. We get what we see, and so based on that, we feel like a person is one way when maybe they're another way. Well, the Apostle Paul did that with Barnabas' cousin, some people say nephew, John Mark. On Paul's and Barnabas' first missionary trip, Barnabas wanted to take young John Mark. He just called him Mark here. But he wanted to take him along, and he did. And in the middle of the trip, or at least some portion, maybe it was early on, John Mark decided that he had had enough and he was going home. He was probably homesick. And he, in fact, did that. Well, the next time, on Paul's second missionary journey, Barnabas and Paul were getting ready, and here shows John Mark. He's going to go with them. And Paul said, no, I don't think so. Paul remembered that on the last journey, John Mark quit. And quitters are liabilities on such trips. And so the Apostle Paul said no. In fact, he was so adamant on this that he and Barnabas separated because of that issue. And Barnabas went his way, probably on a missionary journey, and the Apostle Paul went on his second journey without Barnabas. But to Paul, Mark was a quitter. And that was his impression of Mark. And at that point, I mean, did Mark quit? Sure he did. But it was something that stuck with Paul. And we see that this was a very deep-seated feeling in Paul's heart, and he would not allow Mark to go with him. Well, we see sometime later, Paul is talking to Timothy, and he said, only Luke is with me. Bring Mark with you when you come, for he will be helpful to me in my ministry. Well, evidently that first impression was wrong, and Paul was big enough to admit it, that, Mark had turned a corner, and Paul was wrong with his initial impression. Fast forward toward the end of Paul's life, and he's in prison. And he writes from prison, Colossians, in chapter 4, verse 10, he says, Articus, who is in prison with me, sends you his greetings. But he doesn't stop there. He said, and so does Mark, Barnabas' cousin. As you were instructed before, make Mark welcome if he comes your way. Make him welcome if he comes your way. Well, Paul was wrong about Mark, and sometimes we're wrong about people, and we need to be big enough to admit it. So the next time you're unimpressed with a person, just realize that God's not through with them yet. God wasn't finished with John Mark. We know that he penned one of the Gospels, probably through Peter's expression, but he penned a gospel later on. He did go on missionary journeys, and there, as Paul is toward the end of his life in prison, it looks like apparently Mark's been there, or he is there with him. The two people, John Mark's one of them. Thank God. Thank God. Paul was able to give John Mark a second chance. And the world's a better place today because of it. And your world will be a better place today if we just learn not to jump too quick when we're judging people. That first impression, remember, is seldom everything. And so let's give people the benefit of the doubt. Let's love them. Let's show the love of Christ. And let's give them the benefit of the doubt as we serve God together. God bless you. Have a great day.